The Angels win their first 3-game series since opening weekend after losing the first game.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. The Angels had a come-from-behind win yesterday against the Twins, and we've got 4 takeaways. Did we see any of the Tori Hunter impact in yesterday's game? We'll talk about that. And what's the Angel mindset as the season comes to an end? We're going to have a good discussion there. Before we talk about the Angels, let's talk about our sponsor, 5 Hour Energy. You can enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for 2 to any golf tournament in the United States. Visit 5hewin.com for full rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Excludes the Masters tournament and ends October 31st, 2025.
Thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is Jon, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother Jon.
Hey, we're here talking Angels baseball with you every single weekday, Monday through Friday. We love covering our favorite team, no matter how much we might not be their favorite fans at times. But, we still love this team, and we still love discussing it with you. Mike, the Angels finally won a series, and it was the first one since the very first series of the season against the Chicago White Sox, where they lost a game and then proceeded to win the next 2. Let's talk about the Angels' 4-3 win from yesterday afternoon.
Yeah, just looking ahead real quick, 2026, can we win on opening day? I would love to have a win.
Can we play at home on opening day? For crying out loud? We haven't done that in years.
Apparently, that's the Angels' request. We'll talk about that on another episode. But, Jon, first takeaway from this 4-3 win is the Angels come up with a big run in the late innings. Bottom 8, Bryce Teodosio hits a triple off the center field wall. Almost went out. And then Trout followed that with a productive out, Jon, a sacrifice fly to left field that gave the Angels the 4-3 lead. On that triple, Teodosio went from home to third in 11.69 seconds.
Is that fast?
That's fast. He's running. He's flying around the bases. That gave them the lead and the win. Here's 2 wild stats. We mentioned one of them, but when trailing or tied after 7 innings, the Angels now have 27 wins this year. That leads the league, which is depressing because it means that the Angels have let a lot of wins just slip through their fingers. They've blown a lot of leads, but having to come back, that's a testament to a good team. A good team will come back, right? And the Angels have proven that this year, but just haven't put enough wins together. They have 17 wins when trailing or tied after 8 innings. Also, as you mentioned, first time the Angels won a 3-game series after losing the first game since opening weekend against the White Sox. And it was fun to watch Bryce Teodosio fly around the bases. It was fun to watch Mike Trout hit a sacrifice fly. I love the productive outs. I love what they did yesterday. We're going to talk about the Torii Hunter effect in segment 2 because he was in the dugout again. Now, Jon, before they scored that game-winning run in the 8th inning, take us to takeaway number 2 from this game.
Yeah, this is crazy. The Angels set a franchise record with 16 consecutive runs with 2 outs.
Yeah.
They got the 12 2 nights ago, and then they got 4 on Wednesday afternoon. They got 16 by scoring 3 runs in the bottom of the 3rd. Trout had an RBI single with 2 outs. Then Zach Neto hit his 26th home run of the year. It was a 2-run shot. The Angels were 8 for 12 with 2 outs on Tuesday night and scored 12 runs. And the Halos had 2 two-out hits, I should say, and scored 3 runs in yesterday's game. Just a wild number right there to see from the Angels coming through when it mattered, when it counted. Boy, it was sure good to see Trout and Neto do their thing in yesterday's game from the 1 and the 3 spots. Why did it take this long? Why did it take this long to make that move? Why did you let Trout struggle in the 3rd spot and continue to let this happen? It pleases me, Mike, when we sit on the show and go, it would be great if the Angels did A, B, and C. And then somewhere along the line, they do A, B, and C, and it works.
Right.
It works. And so, I think that's why people like to listen to us, like to watch us, because we have these discussions often of, what if they just did this? Or what if they did that? And then somehow they do it.
Yeah.
And we suspect that somebody in the organization is an everydayer. We see you out there. But the fact is that sometimes these things feel obvious. Sometimes it just feels like Angels do the obvious thing. Don't try to get cute. Don't try to get too smart. Don't try to do this. Don't try that. Do the obvious thing. And when Trout is walking as much as he's had over the last month or month or two, and put him in the leadoff spot. And sure enough, not even is he yes, he's had his walks, but he's also hitting again, Mike.
Yeah, making contact.
He's making contact and having sacrifice flies and all that stuff. It's making Bryce Teodosio better, I think, from the 9 spot, because, again, that was his second triple in a row that almost went out, and it almost went out the other night as well. So I just think that sometimes the obvious thing is sitting right in front of their faces, and we just wish that they would do the obvious thing.
Yeah, and speaking of this lineup, John, the interesting thing was Trout was 1 and Neto was 2 yesterday, with Ward batting 3 and then Joe Adell batting 4. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when they bring Shawna back. I kind of like Trout and Neto 1 and 2. I don't know if Shawna a third hitter, but gosh, if he fits in that lineup in the third spot, he's been clutch, right? He's making contact. And so if Neto's more comfortable in that 2 spot, then I'm keeping him there. He obviously hit that home run yesterday to give the Halos an early lead. Now, third takeaway, Jose Urena started this game instead of Jose Soriano, and the Angels decided that they wanted to push the start back so that Soriano could pitch in Seattle today. Now, Ray Montgomery said the primary motivation for the move was to simply give the pitchers an extra day at the end of a long season. Now, remember, Soriano has surpassed his career high in innings. That was something that you mentioned on this show maybe a month ago. Like, we need to pay attention to that. So far, so good. But Montgomery added that the difference between Soriano's home ERA and his road ERA was not a factor. By the way, home ERA 5.90, road ERA 2.47. He said that's coincidental. That's a nice byproduct of this happening as we go forward. He's going to be a guy who gets starts like this. That's going to be good because the Mariners have obviously got a lot going on with them. They're playing till the very end. And maybe if we can influence that a bit, it'll be a good environment for him to be in. Translation, what he said was, we want to ruin their playoff hopes. Right. And we wanted to have our best pitcher available for that. It might have something to do with, home versus road. But he said later on, I would rather have him pitch not against a last place team, but against a first place team or a team battling for a playoff spot in the Mariners. And so they're gonna throw all of their best weapons at the Mariners this weekend, which I kind of like, John. I kind of like that rivalry. I kind of like the, come on, gamesmanship. Let's see if you can beat us with our best guys on the mound.
Yeah, I think it makes sense to put Jose Soriano in that environment to have a competitive game and see how he handles the pressure of being away, but also in a stadium full of Seattle fans, and not waste that start on, the Twins. And then the fact that they could use Urena here, 4 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, 4 walks, 3 strikeouts, 71 pitches. That's all you needed, right? And they were able to call upon the bullpen and keep this game close. We did see Jose Fermin give up the 2-run shot that tied the game to Byron Buxton, but Buxton is going to hit home runs, right? But it was good to see Urena give them the length that they need. So maybe perhaps somebody they can keep around to be that long relief guy that they've kind of been missing for a while and haven't really needed up until recently, when they've been putting in position players to pitch as much as they've had. But yeah, you can't tell me it's not coincidental to not have him start at home. Yeah. I think that it's important for him to finish the season strong. And if that means not doing it at home where he's been awful, first of all, figure out what the heck is going on at home to where he's been awful. Second, I do appreciate the fact that they're going to make this game competitive against the Mariners. There's not going to be any easy games. And so I think that that's important to take into the weekend and have Jose Soriano start that. Mike, the fourth takeaway here, your boy, Reed Detmers, left the game early. His velocity was down when he entered the game. He got the first 2 hitters, but after giving up a double to James Outman, the trainer came out and they removed him. Detmer said that he didn't feel right, felt something in his forearm, also said it's not an injury, and it was like on the inside of his elbow. Says he feels it more on the outside, but he'll get an MRI exam. Said he's not too concerned. Pitching workload, is that the result of Detmers, going out as many times as he has over this season? We know that he's been a starter in the past, obviously, but it's high intensity when you're a reliever. It's max effort. That's the word I'm looking for. It's max effort when you're a reliever and you use everything you can to get the guys out, and you're pitching as hard as you can, all that stuff. Think that has something to do with it being here at the end of the season?
I think so. I think on the outside of the elbow is better news. He's not too worried about it. It might just be that there's just some soreness there. And so hopefully the MRI comes back and everything looks clean. But I would anticipate, Jon, that he's probably getting shut down at least for the 10-day IL, 15-day IL, which might mean that he's done for the season, which I don't think is a bad place for him to be, because he's done pretty well, especially after the early season blow up. He's turned into a really good late inning reliever. And if you're going to try to shoot him into the starting rotation next year, you're going to slot him in there as maybe your number 3 guy behind Kikuchi and Soriano, then yeah, I think you probably want to give him a bit of a rest. Again, good news that it's not inside, that it's outside. He feels it on the outside. And so hopefully the results that they have today come back pretty positive for Reed Detmers.
Yeah, it's going to be great to see what they decide to do with him, because he's been effective as a reliever, but we all know he's got the starting capability. Mike, you mentioned it yesterday. Taylor Blake Ward, Jared Timms of Locked On, Talking Halos have all said, like, this guy is the best pitcher in the Angels organization, and he's just had that mental hurdle that he's had to get past, and I believe that he's been able to do that as a reliever. Pitching smart, pitching effectively, pitching with intent, I think is important as well. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Detmers, but yeah, if they have to shut him down the rest of the way, so be it, right? Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Coming up, did we see the Tori Hunter effect in yesterday's game? We're going to talk about that in just a minute.
It's time to fill up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. Flavors like grape, ginger, and lime are some of the favorites of our everydayers. And whether you're out on the golf course or you just need a little extra push to power through the day, 5-Hour Energy Transfusion delivers the flavor you love and gives you the energy that you need. And if you are a golfer, you know that golfing is about good times with good people and good flavors like the grape, ginger, lime flavor of 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. Just buy Snap and infuse your drink. And when you do, you'll have a chance to enter and win a dream golf trip for 2 to any golf tournament in the United States. Visit 5hewin.com for full rules and entry. No purchase necessary, excludes the Masters tournament, and ends October 31st, 2025.
And today's show is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Guys, NFL season is here, week 2, baby, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for every kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if that bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the entire app. Now, it's fun to use FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet, from player props, building a same-game parlay, even jumping in live as the action unfolds. You know, Sunday is full of football. Maybe your team's not playing yet. Maybe they haven't started. Maybe their game ended. You can still watch any game and get in on the action. It's the best way to add a little more energy to your Sunday. So if you're ready to play, download FanDuel's app right now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. FanDuel.com, place your first $5 bet, and if it wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets.
This is the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can check us out wherever you listen to podcasts, whether you're watching or listening. Get into the conversation, find today's show on YouTube, and get into the comment section. We'd love to hear from you. And while you're there, hit that like and subscribe button. You can also tag us on social media or DM us at Locked On Angels on Twitter and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram with your thoughts on today's discussion.
Mike, our discussion continues with the Torii Hunter effect. Now, on Tuesday, we shared how differently this team played. The double steal, right, that Taylor Ward scored on, and the sacrifice bunt that Neto attempted and moved the runners over. Whether you think your number 3 hitter should be doing that, it was different, right? Yeah. It was something we haven't seen before. Teodosio bunting, getting on first and getting to second on the air. And so it was just a very different game from the terrible, pitiful, no good, very bad game they had on Monday night. That was, quite frankly, Embarrassing for them, embarrassing for us fans, embarrassing to have another position player on the mound against a team like the Twins. They flipped the script, had a position player pitch on Tuesday night. By the way, I think Wayne Randazzo said, was it Freeman? I think was the guy who came out and pitched for the Twins. Was the first Twins pitcher technically to hit a home run since like 1971, which
Jim Cott, I think, was the pitcher.
That's what it was.
He was a legitimate pitcher.
and then the position player, I want to say it was Freeman or somebody like that. All that to say, we talked about the way this team looked very, very different on Tuesday night as opposed to that horrible game on Monday. And we speculated wildly and thought it was because of Torii Hunter's presence in the dugout. Remember, on Monday night's game, there was a shot of him in the dugout shaking his head just in disbelief at what he was seeing. And I think that came from the Twins side because I don't remember that happening on the Angels broadcast unless I looked away for a second because I was so sick of what was happening on screen.
It was the Twins broadcast that was on social media because it was those guys talking about Torii Hunter and going, he does not look happy.
No, he was not happy at all. So we speculated wildly. Did they give Torii the reins for Tuesday night? Did he have any influence in the decision-making? Who knows? But we liked to speculate wildly, and we were having fun doing it. And so now we're wondering, in yesterday's game, did we see anything in that game that we could attribute to Torii Hunter's influence? What do you say?
Yeah, I think there was the great relay from the outfield that the Angels pulled off. Taylor Ward throwing the ball hard into the infield, hit the cutoff man, which was Zach Neto, who then threw home and they tagged the runner out. That was a great relay, and they beat the runner by a mile. The game-winning sacrifice fly, John, another piece the Angels just haven't been able to do. And Rengifo had a big stolen base. John, they only struck out 5 times. They had a lot of contact.
That's huge.
Yesterday. Those were the things that I noticed. I mean, I guess I can read into it a little bit, but it really felt like they wanted to be there versus Monday night where it just felt like they didn't want to be there. We'll talk about their mindset. Yeah, we'll talk about their mindset in the next segment, but it just felt like they wanted to be there. And so I'm going to attribute all of that to Torii Hunter because I'm going to be on the Torii Hunter train and get this guy hired as our manager because I think it could be a game-changing decision for this organization. Did you see anything else outside of what I said? And what are your thoughts and feelings on how they operated yesterday?
No, I think I agree with the way that you described, everything that was happening there, especially the 5 strikeouts. I mean, good grief. When's the last time the Angels have struck out less than 10 times, right? Or even 9 times. 9 times. The old Ed Rooney right there. But Mike, it's just, you look at what's changed since Monday from Tuesday, and you think about how horrible that Monday night game was versus how great the Tuesday night game was. And it wasn't so much that like the Twins sucked, on Tuesday night. It was more that the Angels were making better decisions.
Yep.
And doing things that we haven't seen all season, like the double steal and the sack. I've said it ad nauseum, right? But what I'm saying is, what changed from Monday to Tuesday? Because Torii was in the dugout for both games, but you almost have to wonder, without him there, would things have changed from Monday to Tuesday? Because as we all saw over the weekend, Angels having to use position players against the A's. And look, I know we pile on the A's. They don't have a home. They're, always selling everything and all this stuff. But Mike, their offense has been electric this season. And the young guys on that team are going to be problems for years to come. The A's will get back to the playoffs before the Angels ever get back there in the 10 years that it's been, right? And that's unfortunate. But what I am saying is that the A's are no slouch. But for them to demolish the Angels and just, deflate the Angels' tire, suck all the air out of the balloons for the Angels, that carried over into Monday, and then something happened. I don't know if there was a conversation. I don't know if Torii talked to the players himself, or maybe they had a locker room meeting. I know Sam Blum asked Ray Montgomery after the game on Monday night, hey, do you think you need a conversation with these guys? And Ray said something to the extent of, well, I don't know if we need to do that right now. And that's the problem, isn't it? Yeah. It's just, well, I don't think we have to do that. I don't think we need to do that. It's fine. We'll just, we'll play another game tomorrow. But when you're that down in the dumps, especially after the beating they took over the weekend. Now, I know they got the last game. That's fine. But for something to change, you look around the team. Everybody who's been there all season long is still there.
Mm-hmm.
And the one difference is that Torii was in the dugout for both of those nights, suited up, talking to the guys, bringing the energy on Tuesday, bringing the fire and celebrating, talking with Trout, all that stuff. I just, if I'm just reading between the lines, then I have to think that he had some influence on the way that they played, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Because you're right. Everything was the same. What was the difference? Torii was in the dugout, and maybe he was given a little bit more of an authoritative position to talk with the players, right? Not that they need permission, but he may have been like, listen, I'm going to have a really good conversation with this guy.
And you're not going to step on anybody's toe. Like if you're Torii Hunter, you're not coming in there being like, Ray, move out of the way.
Move out of the way. I'm here. Yeah. He's going to ask for permission. So that's probably why.
As much as we are fine with him doing that, but you're right.
But even in Texas, like he kind of just was there, seemed like a fly on the wall. But this series felt like he wasn't a fly on the wall. So if I'm the Angels, speaking of flying, he's flying with me to Seattle.
Oh, 100%.
And I think we're carrying him until the end of the year. I hope, and I'm speculating wildly, I hope that this is the reason why they're having him there, because they are considering him for a role or the managerial role in 2026. I think having him around is great. And if he brings a bit of flavor and fire to this team, then you have to make a decision to bring him in some capacity, hitting coach or something along those lines. Now, I know that he wants to manage, and so maybe hitting coach isn't going to be the thing that scratches the itch for him, but having him around there has been a noticeable difference in a small sample size. And I think that it's Torii Hunter, man. It's got to be his energy, and it's got to be his wisdom, and it's got to be his experience that he is bringing to this Angel team.
And when you think about somebody who you want your players to emulate, it's the way Torii Hunter played the game.
Yeah.
From the Twins to the Angels to the Tigers, right? It's the way he played the game, especially as an Angel, right? We all celebrate the fact that, oh, Torii's here. It's the walk-off grand slam. Torii's here. Like that's the guy we want to emulate. The guy who, gave his heart and soul to the team. And I think he'd be great for a guy like Joe Adell, a guy like Zach Neto, even Logan O'Hoppe, right? Mm-hmm. Like I know they brought in all this coaching and stuff to help Logan O'Hoppe this season. Obviously it hasn't worked. You and I have said many times that it's too many voices in his head. It's too many people telling him what to do. And he's a young guy, an impressionable guy. He's going to absorb all that. And I think that's the cause of what's been going on. Torii Hunter, get all that out of the way.
Yeah.
Let's have a guy that you can look to and go, I want to play like Torii, right? When I think of Torii Hunter, I think of a ball player. And when I think of a ball player, I think of a guy like Zach Neto. I think of Trout before all the injuries, right? I think of somebody that influences this game in a positive way, but more importantly, influences the players in a positive way. That's who I want around this team.
Yeah.
And maybe he'll make mistakes in terms of, hey, pitcher, are you ready to come out? Are you ready for the reliever to come in? Maybe he'll make those mistakes. Maybe he'll run out a lineup card that we're just like, what the heck are you doing? But in terms of that comes with experience. That comes with being part of the game, reading the game, all that stuff. And when you're part of the game, it can certainly help you make those decisions better and in those moments, do the right thing. But as far as the energy and the enthusiasm and the kind of guy you want in charge of a team, I think that could be Torii Hunter. I think that can be Torii Hunter in a positive way and in a way that needs to whip some people into shape. I think that he can do all of those things. So maybe we're going to get tired of talking about Torii until he's hired, and I'm okay with that. And we hope that you guys are okay with that as well.
You've probably seen a million ads for hair growth products, and you thought, I'm sure that this probably doesn't even work. So many products out there, it's hard to know which ones actually do anything. That's why you should at least consider Nutrafol. Give it a closer look. It's the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement, and it's trusted by over 1.5 million people. And it's not just hype. This supplement is clinically tested to target the root causes of thinning and shedding with a proactive approach. It's simple to add to your daily routine. Take 4 pills with a meal, no prescriptions needed, and you can feel good about knowing that Nutrafol is NSF certified and backed by peer-reviewed studies. You can see thicker, stronger hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is giving our Locked On Angel listeners $10 off your first month's subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB.
We talked about how horrible the weekend was against the A's. Remember, Kikuchi, Soriano, just terrible starts on Friday and Saturday. And fortunately, they won the game on Sunday. But on Monday, it was another horrible start. It was another terrible game that got out of hand. And after the loss on Monday, Taylor Ward acknowledged that the Angels can't give in to the idea that they aren't playing for anything. He said, it's definitely tough. Unfortunately, we're in the position we're in, so that makes it tougher. But I think for me, nothing changes. I'm still grinding every day and trying to finish running through the tape as best as I can.
Yeah, Ray Montgomery brought the team together after Saturday's 17-4 loss to the A's to remind the players to maintain their intensity. So he did have some sort of conversation, and Sam Blum asked afterwards about, like, should there be a conversation? He's like, no, I don't think so. So maybe that's why he said that, because he brought them together in some aspect. Taylor Ward said watching that last night was a tough pill to swallow for sure. Definitely not what you want to see. Our coaches don't want to see that. Our fans certainly don't want to see that, but it happens like that sometimes. I think sometimes it's good for the guys to have eye-opening moments. Hopefully it turns their focus upward for a moment like that. I've been here. It woke me up for sure. Hopefully it does the same for these guys. Now, Johnny, Ray Montgomery acknowledged how poorly the Angels played after Monday's game. And on Tuesday, he said it wasn't necessarily because the players have checked out mentally. He said the mistakes on Monday were just physical mistakes, were ultimately physical mistakes. He said if it happened in May, we'd be like, it's just game 40, right? But the fact that we have just 19 games left, he thinks that the intensity is a bit more and people are like, what are you doing? And so he said the mindset is back at it in the morning. It's a new day. It's a new game. Tell me about that mindset, John. How do you respond as a fan when you hear with less than 19 games left now, hey, back at it in the morning, flush it, new day, new game?
I just got through saying that the reason the Angels had the Friday and Saturday that they did, and then the Monday that they did, is because of this exact mentality. You know what? We'll get them tomorrow, right? And we always say, hey, you know what? Turn the page, but that's, as Montgomery said, that's game 40. That's game 30. That's game 20, where it's like, okay, that sucked. Let's move on. But at this point of the season, when you're still doing the stuff that has been plaguing you all season long, something's wrong.
Yeah.
And then when it amplifies to the way that it did over the weekend and on Monday, something's very wrong. So you can't tell me that this is just, it's physical mistakes. It's things like that. And Mike, the whole point of our discussion on Tuesday after the Monday night game was, are these guys checked out?
Yeah.
Because it really seems like it, right? I know Neto made that amazing catch and everything, and that was basically the only highlight if you're an Angels fan watching that game. But the truth is, I think Ray has lost this locker room, and I think that's why Tori has been in the dugout. I think that's why he's been there. Somebody in our YouTube comment said, I don't think Ray ever had the locker room.
Yeah.
It wasn't his to lose because he never had it in the first place. And you see that. You would hope that with Wash taking the medical leave that he did and Ray Montgomery stepping into that there would have been some continuity, that there would have been some pep talks on the mound of, hey, you got this last out for me, or do I need to yank you?
Yeah.
Right? But no, Ray had a quick hook for some of the guys like Tyler Anderson, Kyle Hendricks, and that's fine. But it's not what you'd been doing for half the season.
Yeah.
And so for there not to be any continuity between Wash and Ray Montgomery, I think that's problem number one, in addition to the litany of issues that we had seen in terms of lineup construction and giving guys chances, like going to certain bullpen pieces. Like, this guy again, what are we doing? So I just think that his first mistake was not having any continuity from the guy who was in charge and the guy who would have been here had it not been for his heart. Now, this idea of the attitude being a new day, a new game, we're back at it tomorrow morning. I get that sometimes you have to flush bad experiences, bad games, bad performances. But when it's night after night after night of doing the same things over and over and over again, sometimes you can't flush that. Sometimes you got to call a plumber, and maybe Torii Hunter was the plumber in this situation because it just was too much to take care of.
Yeah.
Like, isn't this, we had a conversation, was it last week, about casual culture, casual halos? This feels like a casual sort of culture, doesn't it?
Yeah. And maybe it's because he's sitting in front of a mic and talking to the media. He's like, we just got to flush it and move on. But I would love to hear like, yeah, you know what? We need to make contact and we need productive outs. And so we're really going to prioritize that. Yeah, there's 19 games left. We're going to make sure that happens. You have to slam anybody. You don't have to put anybody down.
Of course.
But you can certainly tell us like, hey, yeah, there's some things that we really need to clean up. And we haven't cleaned those things up. And it's unfortunate that it's game 130 something that we haven't cleaned it up yet, right? And it's game 140 something that we're still struggling with that. The one thing about interims, I live in a world where interims happen a lot, church work, right? Like you have a guy that leaves and somebody else that comes in to kind of fill the gap until somebody else comes in. And what typically happens is that person comes in and just kind of holds things together. They don't change anything. They don't adjust anything. They don't bring in a new flavor, a new vision, a new personality. They just hold things together. Sometimes you do what the previous person did if it was successful, and you kind of continue down that road. Ray Montgomery came in and it felt like it was like, okay, cool. Here's the roadmap that we have. I'm going to put that aside and I'm going to bring my own roadmap. Here's my own booklet. Here's what I'm going to do. And that's changing everything in the middle of the season. And you're also losing some of the excitement that Ron Washington brought. And yeah, if that's not Ray Montgomery, that's fine. But then you have to figure that out as the manager. Who's going to be our wash? Who's going to fire these guys up? Who's going to get them to run through the wall? Who's going to run over their infielding instruction stuff and help them to do that well? All of that was never thought about. And it makes sense why the mindset is, yeah, you know what? We'll just try again tomorrow, right?
Yeah. Here's the thing. You talked about Ray Montgomery kind of, throwing out the wash playbook and kind of running with his own thing. Here's the difference between that and Phil Nevin taking over for Joe Maddon. Joe Maddon was fired. Ron Washington was not fired.
Yeah.
Ron Washington had to take medical leave. It was not his decision. It wasn't even Perry Manassian's decision, right? It was, hey, this needs to happen for your health.
Yep.
And so that's not a moment to change the game plan. That's not a moment to change the playbook. When Joe Maddon was fired and Phil Nevin got the interim, that's an opportunity for Nevin to go, hey, I've always wanted to be a manager. I've been a third base coach. I'm third base coach here. I want to manage. And so I'm going to change things up because the guy before me obviously wasn't working in the eyes of management, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so that was his opportunity to change things. I think the mistake that was made this season was trying to change things that didn't need to be changed. Did we have our criticisms of Ron Washington? Abso-freaking-lutely. When he brought in Detmers back-to-back nights to record one out and give up 12 earned runs, I thought that was a terrible decision. I thought it was a fireable offense, right? And obviously, maybe, no pun intended, Ron's heart wasn't in it because he was dealing with the things that he was dealing with. All that to say, you don't change the playbook when it didn't need to be changed. And I think that's what happened here. And I think that's the difference between Ray Montgomery taking over, Phil Nevin taking over when he did. Ray didn't have to throw out the rule book and bring his own thing in. I think that's where the Halos have gone wrong since he took over.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. College football fans, Locked On and Fire TV, they present College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview show. Drake Toll is there, Gary Patterson's there, Jesse Hawley's there, and all of our Locked On experts. And you can find this show every Thursday, today, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network and Fire TV.
Hey, give us a follow on Twitter at Locked On Angels and connect with Mike and I, ourselves, me, Twitter, and Instagram at Super Halo Bros. We'd love to see you there. Once again, if you're watching or listening, come on over to today's show on YouTube, get in the comments section, do us a big old favor, hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Mike, we got a game tonight, and normally we would cover it on the next episode, but because it's a long weekend set, we'll cover everything on Monday against the Mariners. So what do we have in store for Friday's show?
Well, everybody's talking about our favorite team, Jeff Passan, Buster Olney, John Heyman. And so we're going to talk about what they've said about our favorite team and what might happen over the offseason. There's some news on what Artie Moreno might do with the coaching staff. There's some news on who they might be interested in. I don't believe any of it. I'm going to share why tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
All right, looking forward to that, and we hope you'll come back and join us for that. Until then, my name is Jon, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother Jon.
Thanks for being here with us, everybody, and we'll see you back here on Friday.